Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, as that will help grow my channel. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd appreciate that as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those and I will respond. Again, thank you. So in this video, I'm going to use a bowl that I had turned previously. If you've been following me, you would have saw the sister bowl to this, one of the biggest salad bowls I've turned so far. This one's actually a bit bigger, but instead of applying a finish on the lathe, which I usually do, I usually use an abrasive paste and a polishing wax that I made myself, and you can go back in my video library and see that if you're interested. This time I'm going to use tung oil, and it's all going to be done off the lathe, so the bowl is not attached to the lathe, not spinning. So with tung oil, it's a penetrating oil. It's a good choice for a nice satin finish, and it's also food grade safe, so I do like using it. So what I do here is I just pour a little bit into the bowl and just rub it in a little bit. Not a lot, because I don't want to rub it off at this point. I want to leave an excess of tung oil to absorb into the wood. And I'm going to let this sit overnight and then come back tomorrow and wipe off any excess. I pay a little bit extra attention to areas that are a little drier than others, even at this point, before switching to the outside of the bowl. Same process, I just pour a little bit of oil onto the surface and then just spread that around. Again, not rubbing it off, but just making sure that the complete area is well coated with oil. And again, leaving that to sit overnight to absorb into the bowl. Some people have asked me about safety of finishes and food grade. Tung oil is an acceptable food grade oil as long as it's cured, and typically that could take up to a week. But once that occurs, all the volatiles have evaporated off, and what's left behind is completely food grade safe. With this finish, it's something that's easily touched up in the future. If any spot gets a little dry, you can add a little bit more additional oil and touch it up, and it'll be unnoticeable. One thing you do not want to do with any wooden bowl is put it in hot water, but you can use a damp cloth to wipe out any residual if you've had food inside of it. So the bowl has sat for 24 hours. I was going to wipe the excess off. There isn't any excess. So that means that the bowl has absorbed all of the tung oil that I put on it. So I'm going to put another coat on it, both inside and out. And I'm going to pay special attention. There's a few spots that seem a little drier than the rest. So maybe they hadn't absorbed as much tung oil the first time around. So I'll pay a little bit extra attention to those areas. I'm going to let it sit for 10 minutes and then wipe the excess off, and then let it sit again overnight and then apply a third coat if necessary. So there was an area right here at the bottom at that transition point that was a little dry, and also a spot up here next to the rim. So I will give that a little extra attention. And you can feel it when you rub it. If it should feel soft and waxy, I guess. But if you feel any spots that are a little dry, then you know that's where you want to put a little more oil. But I don't really feel any dry areas on the outside. It was more on the inside. Finish turns out, it does definitely bring out a nice rich color in the wood. As I mentioned, I wasn't overly impressed with the grain on this wood. That is until I oiled it, and now it does look a lot better. It does give a nice soft satiny finish, and again, food grade safe for sure once it dries, and can be oiled in the future. So if the person who's using it for a salad bowl felt that it was a little dry, they could always add some more oil to it and restore it back to its original finish. Although I don't know that would be necessary. I think this finish would maintain this for years. Obviously, you don't want to put it in hot water, soak it. You could wipe it out with a damp cloth, but you wouldn't want to soak it in water. And that's as much to do with the fact that it's wood. A wooden bowl as opposed to the actual finish. So I'm going to let that sit for 10 minutes and then come back and then rub it dry, and then we'll see whether or not it needs a third coat. So I didn't record this. I did, but my camera shut off. I'll just explain what happened. When I come back after 10 minutes, the insides did not have any excess oil on it at all. So that tells me that the wood has absorbed it all. So I put another coat on the inside. The outside, on the other hand, did have an excess of oil on it, which I wiped off. So that tells me that the outside is not absorbing any more oil. So I put another coat on the inside. I'll let that sit 10 minutes, then come back and rub it out and see how that looks. So after the third coat, I was able to wipe away a lot of excess from the inside of the bowl. So I'm going to say that this has absorbed as much tung oil as it needs. So I'm very pleased with it. It's a nice finish. It's a nice satin finish, nice and smooth. You see it's got a bit of a gloss there. You can see that shine. And it really pulled the grain out, which again was a bit of a surprise. So it's a large salad bowl. It turns out that it's 16 inches in diameter, and I believe it was 7 inches deep. So it's a large bowl. The only thing left now to do is engrave my logo on the bottom, and I'll do that there. This is actually a gift, so I'll put some other information on the bottom of the bowl as well. So that's a tung oil finish. Very easy to do. Can be done on or off the lathe. In this case, I did it off. And it does give a nice finish.